I don't like seeing another legacy go up in smoke. Now listen, you do the crime, you know, you got to be held accountable. That could easily be anybody in this room. And she got sloppy drunk and passed out at my mama's house, and I got that. No!
Damn, while she was passed out?
Yes.
It's been a running joke for months that Charlamagne would refuse to say anything negative about Diddy in light of all the crazy stuff that came out. It seems like he was always redirecting the conversation. You can almost see his head getting shinier from all the sweating every time someone brought up Diddy. There's been speculation on the reason for it. People joked about him attending those Diddy parties and getting up to who knows what, but I think there's another reason which is more disturbing than I initially imagined. I'll show some clips that led me to my own conclusion, which I think explains why Charlamagne wants to stay silent on Diddy. But just for context, in the beginning, his excuse for not wanting to comment was that we didn't have all the facts. Now, Charlamagne is one of the biggest hip-hop personalities to ever exist. He's literally famous for giving his unfiltered opinion on what's been going on in the world of hip-hop. So when you have one of the biggest scandals in hip-hop and he chose not to comment on it, it seemed out of character, but also hypocritical, since a big part of what he does is gossip. When the latest video came out showing proof that Diddy really is a monster, he finally criticized him on The Breakfast Club, which was good to see, although some people thought it was a little late. But now he's been doing interviews to promote his book, and he's gone back to giving a vague response when asked about Diddy. He repeats this same point almost word for word every time. And when you look at some of the stuff he said in the past, it starts to make a lot more sense why he's choosing this answer. But first, I just want to quickly get you up to speed on where he stands now.
I think you have to focus on the issue, not the individual. I think when it comes to that situation, man, I think we shouldn't focus on the individual. We should focus on the issue. I think we need to focus on the issue, not the individual. Because what happens a lot of times in these situations, we get so caught up in the celebrity of it all that we don't ever take the time to talk about what's the real core issue here. To me, it's domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's these men that need to go do the work on themselves because they're dealing with all this hurt and this pain and this unhealed trauma, and they're projecting that on the other women. And it's the patriarchy.
So this logic of let's not talk about the individual, but let's talk about the issue seems to me like a way to diffuse negative public opinion of the individual. By that logic, I guess we shouldn't have focused on Epstein or Bill Cosby.
But right now, as I'm talking, there's a woman out there getting beat up by a man, right? And she's not going to get no news coverage. Nobody's going to talk about her.
We should say the name of Cassie, the survivor of the domestic violence.
Yes.
Let's talk more about her.
Absolutely. Just talk about the issue, Priya. Let's talk about the actual issue and not the individual.
This argument feels a little preachy and almost feels like whataboutism. What about all the other victims out there? While avoiding to talk about the perpetrator and victim in this situation. On the surface, it seems like an intelligent and considerate answer because, of course, there is a wider issue. There always has been, and no single incident is going to change that. But what's stopping us from doing both? You know, you can condemn the guy while talking about the bigger problem. So at first I figured he wanted to avoid criticizing Diddy because they used to have some business ties. But there's another reason which I think is more likely. When the news first broke, Charlamagne said he was quiet on the topic because he didn't want to get sued, which I just can't believe. Why on earth would Diddy sue Charlamagne for giving his opinion on something that's already been reported on? But check out what he says at the end of this clip.
The reality of the situation is you can't do anything except for report about what actually came out in this situation. He got sued. He settled.
For all of it?
I don't know.
I heard all of it.
Well, if he did, I think the conversation we could have without, becoming products of a lawsuit ourselves.
Well, we could just say allegedly for everything right now, and then we could start having fun again.
But even with that, what's the point of that though?
That's fun.
So we got fun.
Yeah, it's fun until it's not you. That could easily be anybody in this room.
No.
Yeah, it could be.
Not that shit.
I love that Schultz just straight up said no, because he can't relate to what Charlamagne is saying. So basically, in 2001, a woman would come forward and accuse Charlamagne of the R word. The case was dismissed because there was no DNA evidence, and he's of course said he's innocent, so a part of me can understand if I was in a situation like that and I knew I was innocent, I certainly wouldn't be quick to comment on someone else's case until I had more clarity. But things start to look a little bad for Charlamagne when we look at some of the stuff he said about a separate incident.
And I didn't just get a drug. I remember I went to the sex store and got Spanish Fly.
Oh, so you
Shut up. Spanish. I'm telling her, no, me and you just had sex. Nobody else did nothing. So it just was weird that she was like, well, I'm just glad it was you. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I'm like, yo, you could have been in a real bad situation if it was another
That's a huge
motherfucker there.
compliment, man. A girl just said, yo, at least you me.
I didn't I didn't rape her because me and her had every intention of having sex with each other.
So then why would you put the Spanish fly?
I was a freaky, I'm still a freaky motherfucker, but I was a really, listen, my
Wait,
whole.
was she passed out while you f***ed her?
Nah, she wasn't like, she was like one of those drunks where, no, listen, no, she was one of those drunks where like,
What are you doing
she was one of those drunks where she was like, she wasn't coherent, but she was up. You know when your girls is, like when you're blacked out, like that, don't know what the f***'s going on type shit. Like she was really fucked up.
By the way, Spanish fly is an aphrodisiac. And according to Charlamagne, he talks about putting it in a girl's drink. They continue to take care of business, and he says she wasn't coherent, which is a huge red flag. You know, usually both parties are coherent at a time like that, and if one of them isn't, it usually has a name. But he then self-snitches again. At another time, he describes this when talking about his wife.
It's a lot of things that guys did, especially when we were young, that were that we just didn't consider. And I'm married to my wife. Me and my wife dated for a whole year. She would not give me no pussy.
Yeah.
Me and my wife hung out one Saturday night and she got sloppy drunk and passed out at my mama's house and I got that pussy.
Damn, while she was passed out?
Yes, I mean she would me back and all that, but she was really drunk. So I asked her yesterday, I was like, yo, did I you the first time we ever had sex? And she looked and she goes, I mean, in hindsight, yeah.
No.
Despite Schultz trying to help him out, Charlamagne revealed a little too much, and it's disturbing. His words were, she passed out, and someone even asked, wait, while she was passed out? And he said yes, but then corrected himself. This is why you need a competent producer when doing a podcast, because anyone with a brain would have cut that out. Now, it's possible he just misspoke. His wife later clarified that she was awake and aware, but that was after he received backlash, so she could have just been helping her husband out with damage control. Now, with this stuff floating out there, along with his dismissed case, it must be hard to condemn Diddy when his past looks pretty creepy. Maybe he should have stayed quiet or been more honest like the title of his book suggests, since he clearly isn't the right person to be preaching about how to treat women, especially when we look at how he used to talk to his female guests on The Breakfast Club.
Can I see what that mouth do though for $6? How much you got in me? $26.
No.
You let me and him run a train on you right now.
What can you get for $26?
You can buy me a drink for $26.
Whoa.
Can we slip something in your drink, then take advantage of me? And you're gonna learn to love this sucking this pee-pee. I sniffed your chair last time you was
You're
here.
a sick person.
Yes, the woman that men love to masturbate to her Instagram. 1 in 3 men have masturbated to her Instagram. Every man has masturbated to this woman at least once in their life. Your breasts are ready for feeding. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I can tell the way you sit, you got some.
Oh my God.
I'll suck a fart out your butt.
What?
Charlamagne built his career of being a shock jock, which includes saying stuff like this. He's now talking about the patriarchy and what's wrong with it, when casually harassing women is what helped make him so famous. And now that he's made his money, hey, guess what guys? Let's not focus on the perpetrators of abuse. You know what we should really focus on? The patriarchy. This is like if someone made millions from dumping plastic in the ocean and then once they've made their money said, hey, you know what? We should really recycle. But maybe I'm being too harsh. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this, hit the like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one.